is up? I hope that y'all are all good. If you are new here, I'm God's daughter. Welcome to God's Daughter Ministries, and hit the subscribe button and join the greatest family on earth. Welcome to this week's video. Today we'll be doing a Q&A where I'll be answering the one question that you guys asked me, and it's a very good question. I like this question, so I'm looking forward to this video. So this is the question. Here's the question. I've been struggling with the Bible verse, Matthew 6:33. I don't know why I always see it as being still, stopping everything you're doing and going after God. But then the reality of the world today is that you need to keep going. You need to hold your family together. You need to raise your kids, pay the bills. So my question is, how do you do it, or how are you doing it? And how would you advise someone like me who's struggling with this verse? So if you don't know what Matthew 6:33 is, it says, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." So I'm just going to explain what that means, and then we get on to the questions that you asked. Matthew 6:33 means that with whatever it is that you want to do in life, with whatever it is that you want to achieve in your life, don't spend so much of your time thinking about it. Don't spend so much of your time worrying and stressing about it. Don't spend so much of your time trying to make it happen in your own power, in your own strength, and in your own might, but rather give all that energy and all that time and focus on God, and everything else will start to fall into place. Basically, what it's saying is that we need to depend on God to provide for us. We need to depend on God to give those things to us, to bring those things to us. We need to depend on God to give it to us. We need to depend on God to make it happen. We need to depend on God to do it. Trust that He will do it. Trust that He will do it. So this verse is not saying that abandon everything and just follow God. It's not saying abandon your responsibilities, abandon your duties, abandon your kids, abandon your job, abandon your family, and just follow God. That's not what the verse is saying. But what the verse is saying is, don't worry so much about how the family is going to be held together. Don't worry so much about how you're going to raise your kids. Don't worry so much about how you're going to get that job, about how the bills are going to be paid, about how you're going to pass that test, and so on and so on. But what the verse is saying is, depend on God to make it happen. Rely on God to get that job. Rely on God to show you how to raise your kids. Rely on God to guide you on what to study for that test. Rely on God to show you which job is right for you and which steps you need to take towards achieving your goals. Basically, what this verse is saying is that we need to pursue God and pursue a relationship with Him. Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, meaning seek Him first. Form a relationship with Him first. Have your quiet time with Him. Trust in Him. And the how, you'll see how. So this verse is basically talking about prioritizing your relationship with God. It's not about abandoning everything else and just focusing on God, but it's a matter of making God your number one above all those other things. So it's about prioritizing God and making Him your number one in your heart and in your life, amidst all the stress and the worries, amidst the hustle and the bustle. God is your absolute number one, because everything that you need, all the hows, come from your relationship with Him. I remember when I got to university, that's the time when I actually looked at my relationship with God. I'm like, this needs to be fixed. So yes, when I started actually focusing on my relationship with God, that's when I started to worry less, because I knew God and I knew He was faithful. I knew that He's trustworthy and that He does what He says that He's gonna do. And yeah, from spending time with Him, it helped me a lot to stop worrying and stop stressing so much about a lot of the things that I couldn't control, a lot of the things that I had no business stressing over, honestly. But once I actually started focusing on my relationship with God and ensuring that He was number one in my life, that's when all that stress and the worry went away. And that's when I actually started to see things start to work out. How I got to understand this verse is, well, not how I got to understand this verse, but how I got to live out the verse is just putting God first. Honestly, it wasn't about abandoning my responsibilities because I was a student. It wasn't about me stop studying and stop attending classes and just focus on God, but it was a matter of, am I making time for God in my day enough to help me and to energize me and give me all the things that I need to go about my day. So with verse 33, it's just a matter of prioritizing God and making God your number one and giving God the time that he needs in order to download things inside of you so that you receive all that you need for the activities that you are carrying out. You know, yeah, it's just all about prioritizing God and prioritizing God. And how I'm doing it now, I'm not gonna lie, right now it's a bit tough, not tough, but like I don't have that much time in my day as I did when I was a student, because as a student I was only, the only duties that I had was just studying, go to class, tests, assignments. It's all things related to me, all things that I can make time for, because everything was on my time, was working on my time. But now I'm at home, and on top of my own like responsibilities, which is like GD Ministries and stuff, on top of that I also have to take care of my siblings. I also have to, I'm taking on daughter and sister responsibilities, so there's a lot that I do at home, more than what I did when I was a student. So a lot of the times, my time gets cut a lot because then I don't always have time for everything. But but I think it's very, very important that, we take God with us everywhere. So I know that even with me, even now, though I struggle to get some time sometimes, I find myself in the car, it's either I'm listening to gospel music and I'm jamming with God. I'm jamming with God, or I'm bawling my eyes out because now it's worship music. Or, like there were times when I don't want to listen to anything, and I just sit in the car and I drive to where I need to drive to, and I just talk to God and just have a conversation with God. You'd probably drive past me and just see this person talking to themselves and think I'm crazy. But it's just a matter of making time for God in your day. It doesn't have to be a formal sit down. It doesn't have to be like a formal sit down where you have to take notes because you're watching something. But the fact that I'm inviting God into my life and I'm making sure that he is my focus wherever I go, I think that's what helped me a lot. Yeah, that's what helped me a lot, because I know that I do a lot of the things that I do, I try to include God in them, and I try to, like I'd do something and then I'd invite God to help me with it. Or it's just, oh, I'm doing things for God, like God is just in my life. And I think that's another way that helped me to understand the verse and helps me, to know that I don't have to worry all the time. Because I also know a lot of times when I start to worry, I sit down, I sit myself down and I take a deep breath, and then I start talking to God, and I'm like, God, listen, so this is what's up. I'm stressed about this, I'm worried about this, I just really need you to help me. And it helps, it really does help. And after that you can just start to see God moving and God doing something in the background, and you just start to see the things working out. You just start to see the things working out. So I think like spending time with God has been the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. Like starting to spend time with God, it was just like an eye-opener, because it just helped me to invite God into my life, surrender myself unto him, and just learning how to trust him in everything. Okay, so advice. Like, I know you guys are gonna, you already know what I'm gonna say, right? Because I've said this so many times in so many videos. The greatest advice that I can give you, is to spend time with God. Spend time with God, pursue a relationship with God, put your focus on God while you are still living. It's not a matter of putting off the world, switching off the world, and just ignoring your responsibilities and your duties, but it's pursuing God while you are still living life, while you're still attending to your responsibilities. Because the more you give time to God, the more you spend time with God, the more capable he is to download everything that you need in order to function in your everyday responsibilities. I know that a lot of times, I know life gets hectic a lot of the times, and it just overwhelms you with a lot of things to do, and sometimes you may not always find time for God. But something that I've realized is that when you give, like, the moment where you feel like, no, there's too much on my plate, I can't go into prayer, that's the moment where you need to go into prayer. Because I remember this one time, I was at school. I had a test the next day, and it was a subject that I've never done, and it's a subject that like, it's not necessarily in my repertoire. It's not exactly in like the things that I wanted to do, but it was just a subject that I had to take for credits. So I was sitting there, I'm like, God, listen, I've never done the subject. Like, I was so stressed about the test because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how they were gonna ask questions. I didn't know how, like, what they would expect from my answers and stuff like that. And I remember just stressing about it that day, and I'm like, yo, and I wasn't even like halfway done through studying. And when it was time for my prayer time, I was like, okay, I put aside, I'm like, God, listen, God, I'm trusting you here. I put aside the studying. I wasn't even halfway done studying, guys. Like, legit, I was not halfway done studying, and it was already like late in the evening. It was like, I think it was like 9 or 10 in the evening, and I'm like, okay, God, this is your time. I'm focusing on you right now. And in my prayer time, I sat there and I prayed and I asked him to help me understand the subject, and all of that. And yeah, so I prayed, and then went back to studying. And when I went back to studying, I felt this like this, I don't know, I felt this thing just telling me to focus on this one specific area. And I'm like, but I've never written this subject before. How am I supposed to just focus on the one thing, I feel like they'd ask more, right? And then the next day I got to the writing hall. And then when I read the question, guess what question was, like, just guess what question it was. I got there, and the thing that I had to, the thing that I focused a lot on after, when I had the feeling to focus on, that's what was in the test. And yeah, I guess that's that's like an example that I can give you in terms of, even when life is overwhelming us and we feel like, there's so much to do that I can't even spend time with God. Spend time with God in the moment, because that's when that's when you need him the most. And that, I feel like that's his way of saying, listen, give me your time, because I have your answer. But I can only give it to you, if you are willing to listen to me, if you're willing to invite me in, and you're willing to, allow me to move in your life. So that's the biggest thing. That's like the greatest advice that I can give you, is spend time with God. Even in the midst of the hustle and bustle, in the midst of the stress and the worry, that's the most important time for you to spend time with God. So just ensure that you make time for God. It's just a matter of making sure that God is involved in every area of your life. That's what it means to prioritize God. That's what it means to make God your number one, is that you understand that your focus is on God. That even when troubles come, even when worries come, even when stresses come, you know that my God is here and he will provide for me what I need in this moment. So yes, carry on with your life, but make sure that you make time for God. Carry on with your responsibilities, but make sure that you prioritize God, and that God is your number one, and that you focus on God, and that you invite God in each and every area of your life. It's very, very important that we do that. I've stressed that so many times on this channel, so I'm hoping that y'all hear. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I know I talked a lot about spending time with God in this video, and if you want to know how you can spend time with God and the different ways that you can spend time with God, then yes, I made some videos talking about that. So the descriptions will be in the the link will be in the descriptions. The links will be in the description below. Yes, guys, it's very, very important that we spend time with God. So I encourage you guys to do that. I encourage you guys to take that step forward in making time for God and making Him your absolute number one. Thank you so much for watching. As always, it's a pleasure. And if you guys want to add something, please go ahead and add. And yeah, if you have any more questions, any more follow-up questions, please do not hesitate to let me know. Write them in the comments, message me on Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp, or you can email me. I'll see you guys next time.